Rachel, it's so nice. Hello. It's so nice to have you on the podcast. I'm delighted to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
So I know who you are, but for people listening who don't know who you are, give us a little bit of a background on you and your business.
Yeah, so to sum up what I do, I am a writer for all things weddings. So I've got two businesses. Veil and Bliss is my first baby. So I am a wedding poet. I write bespoke speeches, vows, wedding favours, and special poems for people to read during their ceremonies. And also, I am a copywriter for wedding business professionals as well. So that means if you don't know what a copywriter is, they create all the words that go on your website and social media and email. So all of the words that are trying to make you sound amazing and sell to your ideal clients. So that's what I do.
So you write a lot of words. That is your bag.
Yeah.
How did you, Rachel, we met actually just over a year ago. And I remember even then, and I've met a lot of people who work in the wedding industry, a lot of very niche businesses. But I remember thinking, a wedding poet? I wasn't aware that such a thing existed. How on earth did that come about?
Oh, I love telling this story. Yeah, because at first when I had the idea, I was like, people don't do this. So it all came from me sitting in my living room one afternoon, and I had been scrolling through Google trying to find a wedding poem for my wedding. And after typing all the different phrases in, non-cheesy wedding poems, unique wedding poems, modern favour wedding poems, I just couldn't find anything. And I have been writing poems for fun probably since I was about 7 years old, since I could write or figure out what a rhyme was. And yeah, I just decided, well, why don't I just write my own? And I spoke to my other half, and he was like, sounds like a great idea, saves us time searching through Google trying to find something that we can't, that doesn't exist. Yeah. So I wrote our poem, and then I kind of decided to take it one step further, and see if other brides and couples might want me to write their poems. So wedding ceremony poems, vows, speeches, all that kind of thing. And Veil and Bliss was born.
It turned out people really did want that for their weddings, right? Including favors for 100 guests, and every little nook and facet of writing words for weddings. That's where you stepped in.
Yeah, totally. And it kind of just started off as, I think people might like a unique wedding ceremony poem. And then I just kind of kept adding things to my suite of offerings, and was like, maybe people would like to give each of their guests a poem for their favour. And that one has really been a hit. I think it's so hard to find wedding favours that people are going to think, this is really special, this is really unique. So yeah, that's one of the most fun parts.
I can imagine. I think the experience, if you put yourself in the shoes of being at a wedding, that moment, which I love about a wedding, where you see all of the tables laid out ready for the wedding breakfast for the first time. I can't imagine sitting down and there being a poem that was written about me from the point of view of the person whose wedding I'm at. I just think that's incredible.
Yeah, honestly, I've just finished writing some for one of my brides, and I was getting like choked up and emotional just writing these things, because all I do is ask my clients to just answer a couple of questions about each guest, tell me what their role is in the wedding, what they mean to them, any fun memories or anything, and writing about the bridesmaids and the father of the bride, and making them feel really, really special, because every single poem is just completely different. You can imagine them sitting down at the table and saying, let me read yours, and then we'll kind of crying and being like, this is amazing, I want to put it in a frame when we get home. So yeah, it's definitely being that tiny little slice of someone's wedding day and making someone smile. It's just it's the best feeling.
Yeah, and you are so talented at it, Rachel. I actually my best friend moved to my village during the COVID pandemic, and it's hard to take a welcome to your new home gift when you can't actually go there. So Rachel wrote a poem for them, and it was so perfect. It was so perfect. It was brilliant. It was genius. It was the best possible gift I could have given them. So thank you so much for that, Rachel.
You're so welcome. I remember writing it and was like, oh, this is cool. And the funny thing is that it doesn't take me that long to write a poem.
I just which like messes with my brain, because I'd spend the whole time thinking what rhymes with such and such, and you just seems to I don't know, flow. Is that the state you get into when you're writing? Is it like a meditative flow state that you're in?
Yeah, so I have this weird talent of looking at someone's notes on a page, like the facts that they've put into my website, and literally drawing out words that or synonyms that would rhyme. And it's like my brain just picks them off to the side, and then they're my rhyming couplets. I know how I'm gonna get that fact in there. And there's certain words that I'm like, oh, if someone's got a name that rhymes with you or me, then I'm like, oh, your name, I can rhyme with your name. So yeah, it's a strange talent, but it's fun.
Yeah, well, one that I'm sure that you're glad that you tuned into, because it's really, I mean, you know, since we first spoke, which was February last year, your business has evolved tremendously, I would say, because you obviously have this new side of your business, which is copywriting for wedding businesses. Like, I can see the link. I mean, we had a conversation about this Indeed idea. It seems obvious to me. Tell me about how you went from writing wedding poems to wedding business websites.
Yeah, so that's another story in itself. When I had just started my wedding business, I'd had a lot of experience with blogging and copywriting previously in my corporate job and on a freelance basis. And that was just something that was kind of ticking along, paying the bills. I wasn't super obsessed with the kind of work I was doing. My whole heart was going into my wedding business. And then I was kind of like, well, I've got all of these skills. I've done this side for a very long time. I know what good copy is. I need to start implementing this into my own business and, you know, see what happens. Like, go above and beyond just a beautiful Instagram feed, really hone in on my website words and start creating those connections with captions rather than just going full Pinterest pretty, which is very important for wedding business owners, but it's not the be all and end all.
Yeah.
And I soon realized, after we'd had many conversations, that me tweaking the copy and honing in on the messaging and really connecting with my ideal client took my business from 0 to 100 real fast. Yeah. I grew a community online of brides and couples. I was getting enquiries in the DMs, and I was like, all of a sudden my diary was like, oh, it's full.
I've never known, out of all of my one-to-one clients, I've never known anyone with so many DMs as you, Rachel. I mean, like, we would be on a call and you'd be like, so in the space of the last hour, I've had 10 DMs. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Completely. To say your business blew up is not an exaggeration, is it?
No, it was a game changer. And tuning into what they were saying to me, I think that was really key, and how they were communicating to me and what they were saying in the DMs. And we'll go on to this later, but kind of listening to your ideal client, making sure that you take notes of what they're saying and, you know, create a massive file, although it sounds really geeky, collecting all of those snippets of copy gold are really going to help your business. And the proof is in the pudding that it helped my business. So yeah, that's kind of what happened. I was like, oh, maybe I could show other wedding business professionals how to use great words as well and blow up their businesses. So that's Rachel Kitchen copywriting.
So tuning into then the mistakes that people make, because, you know, like the Joe public average wedding business owner like myself, when we're starting out, we don't think the words are that important. Like a lot of people are like, well, I need to do this for Google so that I come up in the search. So it tends to be like, we know that we need to put keywords in, but it's so much more than that. And people make mistakes. I would include myself in that. When I started my wedding photography business, I look back now and I think I made tons of mistakes when it comes to copy. What are the most common mistakes that people are making with their copy on their website and their social media?
Yeah, great question. And I'll give you three. I mean, I could probably give you 300, but we don't want to go too deep. So yeah, the first one is being clear. So is it really clear what you do and how you help people? Because you know, as a wedding business owner, what you do, but is it really clear to other people? It might sound like a really obvious thing, but are you making it crystal clear that this is your job, this is how you're going to help people, and this is the type of person that you want to do? Because yeah, you could put at the top of your website, I am a wedding photographer who is based in the Kent area. Okay, well, I'm thinking that there's going to be thousands of people living in Kent that want a wedding photographer. You need to niche it down.
Yeah.
So this kind of goes towards doing a bit of work on your ideal client and niching down. But the clearer you can make that headline, if you don't change anything on your website, make your headline really niche and really clear. So I am a wedding photographer based in Kent, and I deal with underconfident brides who want to look incredible on their wedding day. Because there's going to be a bride that goes, oh my gosh,
yeah,
that is exactly who I need. Please help me. And then you can delve into your story, talk about exactly why you do what you do. And maybe there is a story behind it. Maybe you are getting married way back when, or you are planning your sister's wedding or your friend's wedding, and they were underconfident, and weave your story into your wedding business copy. So this will put you on a level with your ideal client so that it's really, really clear how you are in the best position to help them. So clear, that's the first one. I'll just scoot over the other two as quickly as I can. So we're not
this is brilliant.
Hours.
No, it's great.
The second one, I would say, make your copy client-centered. So if you were to do a super quick audit of your website right now, how often are you saying the words I and me or us? Not saying that you can't use those words, because it's impossible to write a website without mentioning yourself at least a few times. But how can you reframe your language to make it how you can benefit your client? So instead of saying, I have 10 years of copywriting experience, that's cool. That people might think, oh, wow, impressive, but what does that mean for me?
Yeah.
Then you need to kind of rejig the wording and say, if you're looking for someone that can blow up your business to the next level with words, I might be the kind of person you're looking for. And they're like, oh, I quite like that. So try and reframe the language on your website to make it as client-centered as possible.
Fantastic.
Number 3, which is the third one, is call to actions. So if you don't know what a call to action is, this is a very specific instruction which will tell your ideal client how to get to the next step. And I'm obsessed with call to actions. If you go onto my website right now, you'll probably see about 10 on the first page. It's because people are a little bit lazy when it comes to navigating websites. They want to be told instantly, where do I need to go next? Okay, how do I book you? I like this person. What do I do? So make it really, really clear and put as many call to actions in as you can, obviously without going too overboard, but you want to make sure that you make the journey super simple and super clear so that they can book you, whether that's a consultation call or popping into your inbox or downloading your brochure. Just make sure, as a fresh pair of eyes, that it's really clear how they're going to get to that end point.
Yeah, so important and so easily missed. I think I think and I remember doing it with my website right back at the beginning. I would assume that people know to go back to my menu bar, and I still think that's a fair assumption to make, but it's not nurturing, is it? You're not nurturing that person. You know, when you're in IKEA and you're like, I just want to get to the kitchen, but you've got to get to the kitchen section. You've got to go through the this and that and the other. And there's even arrows on the floor. It's like you need to create that website representation of IKEA.
Yes, and that is the customer journey. Like, imagine you are IKEA, and
I
you're
always use
winning.
the IKEA example, because it's exactly that. Like, you know, I'm a grown adult, but I stand and look at the floor. Where shall I go next? I follow the arrow. It's human instinct.
Yeah.
So when it comes to good copy, then I know the impact that it has, because I've learnt my lesson from having, not bad copy, but not very inspirational copy. What impact does good copy have on a wedding business?
Ultimately, good copy is going to get you booked. And it's not just going to get you booked, but it's going to get you booked by the right people. And I think that's really important. I think it's really easy to think, oh, I just want to attract everyone to my business and just get so many bookings. But you didn't create your wedding business to work with people that aren't really your people.
Yeah.
You want to work with people that make you feel excited to go to work, that make you excited to, respond to an email or hop on a Zoom and have a chat. So your copy can really filter out the people that maybe aren't in your budget and they're not based where you want to be working. If you want to be a wedding planner that's based in Italy, like, that is amazing. That's an amazing niche. You wouldn't say I plan weddings all over the world and all over the UK. You would just hone in on that one really specific thing. And I think having good copy has the power to send a message to a very, very specific audience. And that is kind of where visuals don't play as much of a part. It's kind of, you can showcase your work and say, look at these amazing venues that I've worked in, and look at these beautiful pictures that I've shot. But the copy is going to really hone in on the people that you want to work with and connect with them.
Exactly that. I call it the homecoming. When you read something and you're like, oh yeah, this, I found my spot. Yeah. And it's a lovely feeling as a consumer when you have the homecoming moment of exactly that. Oh, I've found the person. Look no further. We've arrived. And copy really does that, doesn't it?
Yeah. And if I was to give one piece of advice, I would say, don't be afraid to be who you are and show up as the wedding business owner that you want to be. And just stand that ground. If you are a wedding photographer that absolutely loves dogs and countryside walks, put that on your website, because I bet your couples would love it too, and that's how they're going to connect with you. It sounds like, oh, these things, they don't really need to know that. They need to know that I took a course on this and I've got a qualification in this. No, like, be yourself and put your personality out there, because that will create connections as well.
So true, so true. More generally, back on towards wedding poetry then. I know you're not supposed to have favourites, but have you got an all-time favourite wedding poem that you've written?
I should say mine, shouldn't I? But I'm not going to say mine. It probably will be my favourite as soon as I can get married, but that's a whole new story. So I wrote a poem a couple of months ago, and bless them, they're having a micro wedding, which is actually, I think, such a beautiful idea, especially with the current situation. Which means that their wedding poem is just even more important. And I'm going to shout them out, Amy and Luke. They met a few years ago, and they've got a beautiful little dog called Jasmine, and they wanted to mention their dog in the poem and talk about how Luke cooks amazing dinners, and Amy just still calls them average, even though he's actually an amazing cook. It was a poem all about them as a couple, and I think I sent the draft over to Amy, and instantly she was like, okay, I'm crying at my desk right now. You've just encapsulated everything. She basically sent me a picture of her notebook, and she'd just written scrolls of notes, and I just kind of compiled them into this this wedding ceremony poem, and she was like, I don't know how you did it. How did you do that? So it's hearing those reactions and making people cry in the best possible way.
I love that. Oh, what a wonderful experience. There's nothing nicer than when someone says, you know, you have fulfilled everything that I dreamt about working with you. It's the nicest thing, isn't it?
Yeah, honestly, and they'll keep that poem forever and put it in a frame, and they'll always say, this is part of our wedding ceremony, this is part of us getting married, and the fact that I had a little bit to do with those words and just to make it even more special is amazing.
Oh, well done, Rachel. I want to hear the poem now. So when you get that DM or the inquiry lands in your inbox, and you know, your Amy and Luke tell you about their personalities and their home life, how do you know that you're excited about it? Like, because you've kind of got these two areas. You've got the people that you're dealing with and having that relationship, and also like the stuff that they're into. What's the alchemy that goes into that perfect inquiry for you?
Oh, that's a good question.
Thank you.
So I would say I instantly know that I want to work with someone when they understand the value of a personalized wedding ceremony poem. I think it's not on a lot of people's radars, and that's totally okay. But it's the people that go, oh my gosh, I've just stumbled across your Instagram or landed on your website, and that is the best idea and we need it.
Yeah.
And they are like all in already from the beginning. They love the idea, and you kind of know that they're going to be your client because they value what you do. There aren't a huge amount of wedding poets out there. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong.
I won't. I think there's a handful, but you know, we're not talking, you know, one on every street of the UK. It's just, it's an underrepresented force in our industry.
And I think we need more wedding poets, because I'm not going to be able to handle everything.
I can't write all of these poems. It's a good point though, because I mean, I've been to, and you know, hundreds of weddings. It's not an exaggeration to say that I've had front row ticket with me and my camera for hundreds of weddings, and I have heard the same readings over and over again, and there's nothing wrong with that, and there's no judgment in that statement, because for many of the people at weddings, it'll be the first time they heard it. You know, I'm thinking Captain Corelli, I'm thinking Winnie the Pooh, and they're all lovely, and I'll be honest, Rachel, I cry at every single wedding I ever go to, so it still hits a nerve. But when something is that extra, even that 3% more personal, I think there's something very exciting about the chemistry in a room. It's what makes wedding speeches such an important part of a wedding, because you hear things and you're like, oh, I didn't know about that person, or I'd never realized that connection, or that loss, or that tragedy, or that fortune. From your perspective of writing these, what is it about making vows a personal thing that really transforms the couple's relationships with the ceremony part of the day?
Yeah, I think that's such a good point. And I personally, as a wedding guest, I am always excited for like the drinks afterwards and mingling and having yummy food and having a dance. So my goal with Veil and Verse was to make everything that comes before all that so-called fun stuff show-stopping, amazing, memorable, that makes everyone feel like they're having the best time before you've even, you know, got your glass of champagne in your hand. So my goal for vows, ceremony speeches, and all of those fun things that happen during the ceremony is to make them so personal that everyone's like, whoa, I never even knew that. That's amazing. And also kind of get people laughing. Like I love creating kind of witty jokes about them as a couple, and just, you know, those sly things that nobody really knows, like, oh,
Yeah.
he never picks up his socks, and, you know, she's always leaving the lights on. Those kind of things that are really, really personal, that you can't pull off Google and have as a ready-made, ready-to-go poem. It's those things, and it's knowing that the couple have, you know, their whole, obviously everyone who goes to a wedding is into it, they're engaged with it, they're excited, but it just kind of brings the whole room together as one, and there's a really warm buzz in the atmosphere of, oh my gosh, that was so good. So yeah, that's the part for me that I think is just so good to make it personal.
I'm excited for the day where I'm photographing a wedding and the vows start, and I'm like, well, hang on now, this sounds like a Rachel Kitchen piece of work. I will blame you for my mascara down my face on that day because I'm a sucker for it. And what I think is lovely about your story, and obviously, you know, we've worked together a lot in this last year, is this evolution of your personal brand, of your first business baby, Veil and Verse, and now you're doing that for other people. And I think that's, I just really love that evolution of your business. You're clearly in your element. I mean, we chat, and yeah, you know, it's been a tough year for you, and we'll talk about your wedding situation in a second, but I think it's safe to say you've found an incredible amount of joy from what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if we'd have like rewound to where we were sat this time last year, and you would tell me that I have 2 businesses and full client books until the summer, I would have been like, Faye, no way. But when you trust that you are doing exactly what you should be doing, everything just evolves. And whether it happens quickly or it happens long term, you are in exactly the right place that you need to be right now. Yeah. And I wish that I could have gone back a year and said to myself, like, trust the process. And you know, all these ideas that you keep having in the shower or waking up in the middle of the night and scribbling them down, they're there for a reason, and just roll with it. Because I don't think there was ever a time where I came up with an idea and didn't do something about it. And if I'd have just sat on those ideas, nothing would have happened.
To be honest, Rachel, I think if I went back to Rachel, and it was February half term that we spoke last year, because it was the last time I remember seeing people in the outside world. You have been the perfect student. Like, when ideas come to you, or when I brought ideas to the table to talk about how we can build this new business, you always ran with it. You always ran with it. I'm not sure I've never known someone with so many ideas, like multiple ideas a day. And sometimes I'd be like, whoa, hang on, Rachel, let's just focus on the thing. But I'm absolutely sure that that's been a reason for your rapid growth, is that you would be open to going, okay, well, like, I've got this idea, let's qualify the idea and make that decision of whether we run for it. And there were things that we put to one side, and the things that you focused on are clearly the things that you're, you know, up and running with now. So you were the perfect student. You did everything I ever asked of you and more. So I genuinely, I'm really happy for you. I really am.
Thank you. Thanks. And it's been great.
This year hasn't been without, this last 12-month period hasn't been without its ups and downs for you. I mean, your wedding, which was supposed to have happened quite a while ago now, fell foul of COVID. Tell us about your experience on the other side of being a bride during a pandemic.
Yeah, so I was meant to get married on the 3rd of May 2020. And I think that kind of, in that time, so when we went into lockdown last March, I was like, well, this will have blown over by May.
I
Come
remember
on.
Rachel, we had a conversation. We were like, well, you're going to be on honeymoon then, so let's not schedule a call. And you were like, can I not do a call with you on honeymoon? I was like, no, Rachel, you have to go and enjoy your honeymoon. But we had I remember having that conversation with you.
Yeah, and I think everyone, if you rewind back to when we were first locked down, we thought, okay, this will be a couple of weeks. I was convinced that my hen do in the last week of March was going to happen. I was texting all my bridesmaids saying, please show up, please. I think it'll be fine. But yeah, obviously didn't quite work out. So we've had multiple dates. We rescheduled from the 3rd of May 2020 to the 3rd of January 2021, which obviously didn't happen. Which kind of deep down I was cool with. It wasn't as dramatic as the first postponement, because by that point everyone was in the same boat. I was talking to brides continually, changing their wedding poems, because I always try and put their date in their wedding poem, and I was like, oh no, July doesn't rhyme with this anymore. So yeah, that kind of happened on that side, but it kind of gave me the perspective of, I completely understand what all of my couples are going through, because I'm living through it as well. I know the uncertainty of it all, but I've tried to just be as chilled as I can as a bride, and I know what it's like to be a wedding supplier, so I have approached my suppliers with the utmost kind of gentle attitude and said, I still want to work with you. Are you free for these dates? And just making sure that I kept that open communication before, deciding on a new date and all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's been an up and down process. I've still got all my wedding suppliers that I picked firsthand, which is amazing. And we're getting married in April 2022. So a 4-year engagement.
Yeah, I mean, I remember you saying about, Willow walking up the aisle, Rachel's daughter Willow, she'll be marching up the aisle.
She will. She'll be sassing down the aisle. She was going to be a baby in our arms, 9 months old at our wedding, and now she'll be, nearly turning 3. So we need to find her a dress ASAP that matches the rest of the bridesmaids.
Oh, well done for navigating that with grace and kindness. And yeah, it's an interesting one. You're obviously not the only bride who works in the wedding industry, and I think having that empathy for the other side of the coin was probably advantageous to your suppliers. So well done you. I'm sure you would have navigated it in the same way, regardless of that experience anyway. Rachel, I feel like I could talk to you for about 3 more hours, but in the name of making this a podcast, thank you so much for your time. I've really enjoyed speaking to you. I love working with you. You have achieved so much. You're so lovely to be around. You're bubbly, you're fun, you're excitable. And we, I think, could all take a leaf out of your book. I've got one more question, and that is, you are obviously a member of the Wedding Business Club. Tell me about your experience of being a member.
What can I say? So it's not just a community of talented, inspiring, amazing suppliers, and that is led by you. It's also a place that I truly have made really good friends. And it's not just about kind of networking for professional reasons. There's a handful of people that regularly, I was literally just messaging Nicola a few hours ago, just chatting and talking about, Instagram's really annoying, isn't it? And they are genuinely club members that are going to be in my life forever, and it's one of the best places to network, to create amazing connections, and it's the best community of wedding suppliers you'll ever meet. And it's not only inspiring because it's led by Faye, who gives us weekly coaching calls. If you've ever got a question, Faye's going to give it to you straight and tell you that I've been there, this is what you need to do. So yeah, if you are kind of looking for a space to not feel so lonely, because it can be lonely in in the midst of a pandemic, not even when we're out of the pandemic. We kind of are all self-employed and working at home now. It's the best place to feel uplifted and inspired and stay on track with your goals, because you can't do that on your own. You need Faye to hold you accountable like she did for me.
And that I will. Oh, thank you, Rachel. That means the world. For people who would like to talk to you about your poetry and your copywriting, how do we find you? How do people get in touch?
Yep. So if you are interested in poetry, you'll find me at Bale & Verse on Instagram, www.baleandverse.com on the line. And for everything copywriting, it's just rachelkitchen.co, and that's on Instagram and on my website. I'd love to connect with you.
Brilliant. Rachel, thank you so much for your time. It's been lovely to speak to you, and I look forward to one day very soon giving you a proper in-life hug.
That would be lovely. Thank you, Faye.
Thank you, Rachel.